Content Introduction. Take over a mothership of Homeland and cross into the world of Star Wars. Tang Xiao. This world is so dangerous, Mom, I have to go home. Wait a moment, there are actually, the original sin of the Sun Empire, Halo, Eve, StarCraft, the stars, in the mothership database. And surprisingly, Jim Reno, Sergeant, Archbishop Atanis are still sleeping soundly inside the freezer. Tang Xiao. They will all fall at my feet. The Fourth Scourge. Ah no, long live the Fourth Empire. Chapter 1. Hello, Manager. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Preface. This book is a fan of Star Wars, a story that takes place in a completely different universe. This place has no connection to any person or regime on Earth, and is all fictional, with absolutely no referential or satirical meaning. Pure is just a space opera. 1. Hello, Manager. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago, in a very, very distant Milky Way galaxy. Star Wars. Star Wars. The Galactic Republic has ruled the Milky Way for over 25,000 years, bringing prosperity, and security to the entire galaxy. However, in the tens of thousands of years of history, the Republic has never established a centralized and efficient administrative system. Bureaucracy, oligarchy and loose political organization have made the Republic a huge foam. Grand, magnificent, and colorful, but incredibly fragile. Compared to a country, the Galactic Republic is more like a loose alliance of sovereign planets, with countless hidden dangers buried beneath its flashy exterior. Starting from the most developed star region in the center of the Milky Way is roughly divided into the core region, inner ring, middle ring, and outer ring regions. The closer the planet is to the edge of the Milky Way, the poorer and more backward it is, but the more numerous it is. Among the countless contradictions in the Galactic Republic, the real undercurrent is the contradiction between the poor and backward outer ring planets and the developed and prosperous inner and core ring planets. This is also the contradiction between the exploiters and the exploited, and the separatist forces are gradually rising. But before such contradictions ultimately push the Republic to its end, a huge spaceship landed in the model region on the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. For this galaxy destined to fall into a storm, I wrote an X representing the unknown. You must make a choice. Tang Xiao. The stars are burning, the people are suffering, and every day millions of innocent people die. And now, fate has placed opportunities in front of you. Do you choose to accept or refuse? A deep and mysterious voice suddenly rang out in your mind. Tang Xiao found himself standing in the endless starry sky, overlooking countless shining stars under his feet. I am dreaming. Accepting. Accepting what? He raised his hands in front of him, somewhat unreal, but also incredibly real. Suddenly, a huge warship flew over his head. This warship is so huge that it took a full half-minute just to skim over it. Countless cold gun barrels constantly adjusted their direction, and then fired a huge beam of light that was more than 10 times larger than his entire body. At some point, another fleet appeared ahead, and the two sides were engaged in fierce combat. Countless laser beams instantly filled the entire space, tearing apart the previously peaceful starry sky. Interstellar fighter jets also began to take off, circling and engaging in battle around the huge warship like mosquitoes and flies, constantly flashing with explosive flames. In the universe, all of this is silent, but it is still cruel to the point where one cannot bear to look directly at it. The battleship on Tang Xiao's head was hit by heavy artillery, and the outer armor was torn, causing flames to spread. He could still clearly see the crew members sucked out of the vacuum struggling desperately in the icy space. This is. Tang Xiao looked at another fleet in the distance, those huge warships with triangular hulls and tall bridges, surrounded by countless H-shaped fighter jets. His memory suddenly opened up, and he was shocked to see that he had lost his composure. Titanium fighter jets. Empire-class star destroyers. This is the cosmic battlefield of Star Wars. Everything around him suddenly shattered and disappeared like glass, and Tang Xiao found himself back in the dazzling starry sky just now. However, from his perspective, one can clearly see that war is constantly burning on every planet, and mushroom clouds of nuclear explosions are rising one after another. You have made a choice, and fate will reward you. That deep and mysterious voice rang out again. Hey! What do you want me to choose? I haven't made a choice yet. Hey! Before Tang Xiao could finish speaking, his whole body was sucked in by a force, and he was still spinning. This feels terrible, like being thrown into the toilet and then flushed away with water. Hey! Let me go back. Target galaxy has been reached, name unknown, coordinates unknown. Activate the planet scanning function. The planet has a diameter of 4,900 kilometers and orbits around a gaseous giant planet, with a rotation period of 18 standard hours and a revolution period of 402 standard days. Atmospheric composition, A2 level, suitable for human respiration. The main terrain is forests, mountains, tropical grasslands, and plains. The surface water coverage is 8%. The surface of the planet is composed of primary strata with traces of intense crustal activity. Conclusion. This planet is a human habitable planet, but its size is too small to meet the needs of social development. It is comprehensively evaluated as B+. The hyperspace core has encountered an unknown condition and is unresponsive. The mothership will not be able to perform a transition until contact is re-established. Crews will be terminated and interstellar colonization procedures will begin according to Chapter 7, Article 1 of the Interstellar Colonization Act. AI needs to awaken the administrator when it determines that the colonization process can be initiated, and the administrator is fully responsible for the colonization work. Wake up the manager. Hibernation recovery program in progress. Hello, Manager Tang Xiao. Upon hearing someone call him, Tang Xiao woke up from his sleep in a daze. He felt as if his brain had exploded, as if there were many more things. The miscellaneous knowledge of management, psychology, sociology, basic agriculture, basic industry, and so on, like stuffing a duck into his head, almost made his head explode. The strong discomfort made him suddenly open his eyes, only to find that this was a clean white room, and he was lying in a glass compartment, although narrow but very comfortable. The unknown white light outside illuminated the entire room, and under the all-round illumination, even the shadows were blurry and difficult to see. Some unknown instruments are placed in the room, constantly controlled by automated robotic arms. A few pots of green plants are also placed in the corner, making the atmosphere here more fresh. Undoubtedly, no matter where this is, it won't be the same Mikumi Jia hotel that I just slept in. What's the situation? Tang Xiao murmured to himself. You are the manager of this ship, Mr. Tang Xiao. During your hibernation period, you have completed the study of the knowledge reserve related to managers. Now we have arrived at a habitable planet. Please decide whether to start the colonization program. The elegant female voice of electronic synthesis is coming. Who are you? Where am I? I am the core control computer of the mothership. You are currently in the living area of the mothership, and this is the administrator's dedicated medical room. After you become conscious, please go to the bridge. If you need nutritional supplements, you can make a request at any time. Mothership. What mothership? This is a giant mothership equipped with a hyperspace core, used for interstellar colonization. The information about the origin of civilization has disappeared. Now this mothership belongs to you, and all residents and crew members are honored to board it under your selection to begin this interstellar journey. There are 600,000 residents and 50,000 crew members in hibernation on the mothership. In case of any situation, the crew can be awakened for emergency response. All residents and crew members have undergone strict selection and training, and have mastered different professions, which can better serve colonial work. In addition, the mothership also has a huge embryo bank, which contains 5 billion different human embryos. Through biotechnology, the growth time of embryos can be shortened to 10 years. Now, the entire mothership and every person inside will serve you, manager. Tang Xiao's mind is still in chaos now. First, he had a strange dream, and the sound inside made him choose something. Then, when he woke up, he found himself taking over a supercarrier. A mothership that can hold 600,000 people is not too small, right? He struggled to stand up and came to the mirror on the nearby wash basin. In front of him was a young man who was quite sunny, but his face was a bit pale. My face is still my own, but it seems to have undergone very delicate maintenance. My skin has become much more delicate, and my hair and even eyebrows have been trimmed, giving me a very refreshing look. Wearing a white uniform with a large lapel inlaid with gold edges, the material is soft and resilient, making it almost weightless to wear. Am I traveling? The two words like thunder echoed in Tang Xiao's mind. His previous life, parents, friends, and everything else were reduced to nothing. But I came to this unknown world alone. This strong blow made Tang Xiao stumble for a moment and almost unable to stand steady. He stumbled and ran towards the wash basin, wanting to use cold water to clear himself up, but received hot water at a suitable temperature. He wanted to lower the water temperature, but couldn't find the switch on the integrated wash basin, and an unnamed fire began to spread in his mind. Lower the temperature for me. I want cold water. Do you hear cold water? Tang Xiao felt a wave of irritability in his heart. He was angry, unwilling, and punched the mirror in anger. The smooth mirror surface was immediately cracked countless times, and his hands were also bleeding profusely. The swelling and pain in his brain made him feel a wave of nausea again. He lay in front of the wash basin and vomited with a whoosh. The medical room door opened and two young and beautiful female nurses ran in. One person helped Tang Xiao, while the other immediately began to bandage him. The manager may have had an abnormal hibernation reaction. We need to inject atorvamin, a nurse exclaimed loudly. The robotic arm in front of the side medicine cabinet prepared a tube of injection in just a few seconds and handed it over to the nurse. Okay, manager, listen to me. Your body is fine, and this medication can soothe your mind. You just need to sleep for no more than 2 hours in your regular state, the nurse said seriously, holding his face. Tang Xiao was extremely irritable and pushed the nurse away, shouting angrily, "Get the syringe away from me. You all get out of here. Get out." However, the manager. Get lost. The two nurses quickly ran out of the cabin, but judging from the shadow at the door, they should still be waiting at the door and not leaving. Tang Xiao let out a long sigh and returned to the wash basin. Adjust the water temperature to cold water, can you do it? Computer, he said, I am the core control computer of the mothership. You can call me the main brain. The water temperature has been adjusted, please use it slowly. The cold water poured on Tang Xiao's face, and he also became much clearer, starting to connect these things. It is obvious that the dream I had before seems to have some connection with my current journey. That mysterious voice made him choose. Regardless of whether he ultimately chose or was tricked, the final voice said that if he chose, fate would give him a reward. Is the reward this mothership? So what did you choose me to do here? Tang Xiao remembered the fleet battlefield he had experienced in his dream, and it was obvious that the spaceships and warships inside were from Star Wars. Am I traveling to Star Wars? If it's true, in that universe where one word goes wrong and stars explode, this mothership is simply not enough to look at no matter what you think. Even if we bring the Titans from Eve over, we can't handle it. Tang Xiao sat alone in the medical cabin for a long time, until his main brain began to urge him. Manager, as the supplies on the mothership are already very scarce, if your body has recovered, please go to the bridge to take charge of the work. If your body still has problems, I will call the medical personnel on board. No need, go to the bridge now, Tang Xiao stood up and said. Chapter 2. This mothership is not working properly. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 2. This mothership is not working properly. The cabin door opened, and green indicator lights lit up in the clean white corridor, pointing Tang Xiao to the elevator leading to the bridge. The nurse guarding the door lowered her head and ran back to the medical cabin to tidy up. The manager has awakened, please pay attention to work arrangements. The manager has awakened. The broadcast from the main brain is still echoing in the corridor. However, the whole place still seemed empty, and Tang Xiao walked for a long time before seeing two soldiers wearing black uniforms at the elevator entrance. Seeing Tang Xiao walking over, two soldiers stood at attention with a loud snap and gave a very standard military salute, "Hello, manager." Tang Xiao felt a bit uncomfortable, but still nodded back. Seeing his response, the two soldiers' chests bulged even higher. The elevator took about 10 minutes to reach the floor where the bridge is located. Fortunately, there is a TV inside the elevator to pass the time, and even a terminal that can handle work at any time. But Tang Xiao doesn't know what to do now. Quickly, he arrived at a very spacious hall, and at the door were two soldiers with a determined face. When they saw Tang Xiao coming, they immediately stood at attention and saluted. In the center of the hall is a huge holographic projection star map, but most of the space on this map is dark and nothing can be seen. There are many seats and control consoles around, and it seems that if this place is to start operating, at least hundreds of people need to work together, but now there are only more than 10 people working in the lobby. "Hello, manager." Everyone present stood up in unison and saluted Tang Xiao. Tang Xiao nodded and looked out through the huge panoramic observation window, where a green planet came into view. Unlike the azure Earth, this planet only has a large amount of green vegetation, so the whole thing looks green. On the outskirts of the planet, white atmospheric clouds are clearly visible, indicating a favorable atmospheric environment for the planet. However, the most eye-catching thing is not this planet, but an incredibly huge planet behind it. Compared to a giant planet, this asteroid in front of us is like a mouse standing at the feet of an elephant. The light blue sphere looks smooth and clean, with only a few dark cyclones in some areas, like a bouncy ball I played with when I was a child. Clearly a gas giant planet. Is this the habitable planet we have found now? Tang Xiao asked. Yes, manager. The holographic projection in the center immediately switches to a stellar system, and the main brain explains. The current stellar system is a binary system with two stars constantly rotating around a common center point. There is only one planet in the stellar system, which is this gas giant with a diameter of 48,951 kilometers. In addition, there are 9 satellites around this gas giant planet, and we are next to one of them. There is also a satellite with a suitable climate, but the ocean coverage on it exceeds 99%, making it unsuitable for colonization. 9 satellites orbiting a gas giant planet. Tang Xiao frowned and pondered in his memory, okay, that means we can only settle for colonizing this asteroid, right? So what should I do now? Don't you give me any advice. A young man, aged 25 or 6, dressed in deep blue military uniform, stood up at the round table next to him. He saluted Tang Xiao and said, "Firstly, we need to replenish fuel. The atmosphere of this gas giant planet contains a large amount of helium, which can be used as energy for various spacecraft reactors. Therefore, it is necessary to build a mining station near the giant planet. The mothership's warehouse contains modular semi-finished products, and some small engineering spacecraft can be stored in the hangar for assembly work, but these spacecraft need to be piloted by humans, so I need to wake up these drivers." Yes, after you woke up from hibernation, the main brain awakened a total of 50 of us to prepare for you in advance. Among them, there were 10 Marines, 5 civilian personnel, 5 staff officers, 5 correspondents, 5 maintenance personnel, and 10 carrier control personnel. In addition, there were 10 medical staff members to ensure our health status at all times. We still need your authorization to awaken more people. Very good, what's your name? Tang Xiao asked as he saw the person speaking confidently. My name is Qi Jian. I am a member of the staff. Qi Jian answered with a loud chest. Flagship, that's a great name. If there's no corresponding position yet, then you'll be our interim chief of staff from now on, Tang Xiao said. Qi Jian suddenly became excited and answered loudly, yes. I promise to complete the task. Okay, let me take a look at the situation of our hibernating crew. Tang Xiao sat down on the highest main seat in the center of the bridge at the prompt of his brain, and immediately unfolded a huge holographic screen in front of him. The screen lists personnel available for Wake.up, including 600,000 residents and 50,000 crew members, all of whom have different areas of expertise. And now, it is obvious that people should be chosen among the 50,000 crew members to awaken, as these people are more familiar with the work on the mothership. These personnel were also divided into different levels, including ordinary, elite, and master, followed by 3 levels all marked with question marks. The conditions that need to be met to awaken these personnel are also different. For example, master-level talents are basically masters who have reached the pinnacle in their respective fields. If you want to awaken them and face a colony where there are no tents, you may immediately kick your legs and turn your face to look good. So the conditions that need to be met to awaken these talents are marked below, and most of these conditions are proposed by them themselves before entering the frozen hibernation, and determined after signing a contract with the mothership. Tang Xiao was curious to see what the master-level people were. He casually clicked on a person and found that it was a master-level astrophysicist. His requirements were a 3-story villa, a private swimming pool, the most advanced laboratory, and a super radio observatory built on an altitude of at least 3,000 meters above sea level. Open another one. This is a quantum mechanics master who needs a dust-free laboratory, state-of-the-art experimental equipment, a particle collider at least 50 kilometers long, and 2 beautiful women aged no more than 20 as private secretaries and a velvet king bed with a diameter of no less than 5 meters. Nanny. Brother, something's wrong with you. There are also some more normal requirements, such as the simple need for a master sociologist who does not require food or clothing, as long as the population of the colony exceeds 10 million. Is this demand even more outrageous, you bastard? Degree, I-3. Tang Xiao decisively closed the interface for master-level characters. This time, he didn't even look at the elite level. He doesn't have anything now. Even if he wakes up those people, they probably just give up and die to show you. Relatively speaking, ordinary people don't have many conditions to wake up. When you open it, you basically have food, shelter, and work to do. Only a small number of people's requirements are that the work environment requires members of the opposite sex, or they hope to have access to small conditions such as noodles. Before the authorization was awakened, Tang Xiao thought for a moment and asked, Master, is it only me who can authorize the crew to be awakened? And are these people all working for me? Yes, you are the highest authority owner of the mothership. All your instructions will be executed unconditionally, including allowing the entire mothership to self-destruct now. And all the crew and residents are also selected by you, and they have the highest loyalty to you. When did I choose it? There are no relevant records in the database. Tang Xiao nodded silently. He quickly found the engineering department among ordinary crew members and chose to awaken 10 teams, each with 10 people, responsible for controlling and engineering spacecraft. Later, at the prompt of his brain, he awakened the logistics maintenance personnel of 2 10-person teams. After getting started, Tang Xiao quickly entered the role, and this small-scale job allocation was still very simple. He awakened 20 people from the Ministry of Agriculture to take care of the hydroponic tank in the mothership, because after checking, he found that many crops in the hydroponic tank had withered. No wonder the main brain told him that the supplies had bottomed out. After completing the most urgent task, Tang Xiao breathed a sigh of relief and crossed his legs, saying, Master, let me introduce the basic situation of this mothership. Good. The central holographic projection displays a panoramic view of this mothership, and then the main brain continues to explain. The civilization to which this ship belongs is unknown, the manufacturer is unknown, and the current highest authority owner is Administrator Tang Xiao. Technical parameters. Full height 41.37 kilometers, longest part 10.92 kilometers, total weight 373.079 billion tons. Armament. 5 mass projectors, and a point defense system containing 377 small electromagnetic rapid-fire guns. Total capacity. When the main brain was explaining things in a clear and organized manner, Tang Xiao didn't even pay attention to them. Because he was stunned by the holographic projection of the huge spaceship that appeared before him. This is a giant spaceship that looks like a crescent moon or banana, with a very beautiful overall design. There is a gap in the middle upper position, where there are many portholes, which is the bridge of the ship. And what shocked Tang Xiao was not this super giant ship, which was directly equivalent to the distance from the imperial capital to Langfang, but because he knew this ship. Home. Kushan's mothership. Tang Xiao jumped up from his seat and exclaimed in shock. Tang Xiao has certainly played the famous game, Home. Kushan Song, which is equivalent to a groundbreaking game that opened up a new era of space real-time strategy games. Not only that, this game is also known for its grand storyline, and Tang Xiao, who was still in elementary school at that time, was deeply fascinated by this game. But now, this can be said to be the iconic ship in the entire home world. The Kushan mothership is actually the one it has taken over. This is not right. Why do things in the game become reality? Also, if even the mothership from Home appears in reality, does that mean that dream could be real? Now, is it really in the universe of Star Wars? Is there another amazing database in Chapter 3? You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3. Is there another amazing database left? Mom, I really want to go home. If it were Star Wars, we wouldn't be able to resist the terrifying Star Destroyer. Tang Xiao covered his forehead and remained silent for a while, and the joy of the Kushan mothership becoming a reality in the game disappeared. Okay, Qi Jian, my chief of staff, can you help me count how many defense forces we have now? Tang Xiao sorted out his emotions and decided to struggle a bit. Qi Jian immediately entered the role and answered confidently, we have 5 aero reconnaissance planes and 5 blade light fighter planes. Tang Xiao kept a smiling expression and kept looking at him, followed by an awkward silence. After more than 10 seconds, he smiled again and said, keep going, I'll wait. No more. Tang Xiao, who had already started to feel a little scared, jumped up like burning his butt and cursed loudly, is there only 5 reconnaissance planes and 5 fighter planes to protect Nima, a mothership carrying 650,000 people? Qi Jian, who had just taken office and received a wonderful scolding, quickly lowered his head and responded, I'm sorry, manager. The navigation log has completely disappeared, so I have no idea what happened during the past voyages. The reality is that only these small spacecraft can protect us. Master Brain, retrieve the data and let me see what kind of sacred reconnaissance and fighter planes can protect a mothership. The guarantee is also an infinite destiny with high performance, right? Tang Xiao sat back in his seat and said. On the holographic projection in front of us, a simple and unsightly triangular small spaceship appeared, and the voice of the main brain came, this is an aero reconnaissance aircraft, 9.5 meters long, without hyperspace jumping ability and atmospheric combat ability. The maximum cruising speed is 1000 meters per second, equipped with 2 primary electromagnetic machine guns. In order to make space for the afterburner, both machine guns are arranged on the left side of the ship and have little ammunition reserve. Then a slightly sturdy spacecraft was replaced on the projection, with a rectangular hull and a protruding cockpit on the right side of the hull. 2 6-tube electromagnetic machine guns were installed in the middle. The main brain continued, this is a blade-type light fighter jet, 7.4 meters long, without hyperspace jumping ability and atmospheric combat capability. The maximum cruising speed is 857 meters per second, and two 6-tube electromagnetic machine guns are installed. Tang Xiao pouted and lay on the ground. "ORZ, manager, what's wrong with you?" Qi Jian quickly walked over to help him up, but didn't dare to reach out. Tang Xiao hesitated for a while before standing up again and coughed dryly. "That means we basically don't have any defenses now except for these two useless things, right?" "It's okay, manager. We have very comprehensive ship data in our database." Qi Jian comforted, with a hint of pride in his voice. "Did you forget? It was you who gave us this supreme honor that qualified us to board this unparalleled mothership. Brain, what's in our database?" Tang Xiao turned around and asked. "There are also many other spacecraft data in the database, including giant carriers over 74,000 meters in length. However, to build these spacecraft, having data alone is not enough. Research departments need to convert this data into production capacity, which requires a lot of time and resources." Tang Xiao's heart moved and he quickly asked, "Show me which spaceships there are." The flashing data and items immediately appeared in front of him, leaving him overwhelmed. There are not only spacecraft, but also various technological data covering people's livelihoods, society, culture, and other aspects. This made him a little curious. In his memory, there shouldn't be so many spaceships in the game, Home. Even if we count a few works from the Home series together, there are no more than 100 at most. So, where do these projects come from, like stars? However, at this moment, some familiar figures flashed past Tang Xiao's eyes. Wait a moment. Crow-class battleship. Tauran-class battleship cruiser. Cole-class battleship cruiser. Orion-class assault aircraft carrier. Endless-class super carrier. Seeing these familiar names and shapes, Tang Xiao's mouth opened wider and wider, his chin almost falling to the ground. What's going on? This gorgeous database. Does it include all the data from space science fiction games? Tang Xiao murmured. More precisely, it was a system error $% that the author had played with before. The main brain suddenly made a noise and said, "These data already exist in the database and there is no other information." Wait a moment. So you said the one over 74,000 meters in length. Won't it? Tang Xiao suddenly thought of something and quickly searched the list. Sure enough, a golden warship with an incredibly gorgeous design appeared in front of him. Yeah. The Spear of Aten. It's really the Spear of Aten. The mothership of the Star Spirit in StarCraft. That's right, the name of this mothership is the Spear of Aten, with a total length of 74,550 meters. Then hurry up and build it. Build a Spear of Aten, and our safety won't be a problem. Tang Xiao shouted excitedly. Now we have no possibility of building the Arden Spear. Even if it can meet the needs of workers and resources, the huge production process gap makes it impossible for us to build even a small part on the Arden Spear. We need to wait for our research department to analyze and digest the data of the Arden Spear before we can start building it. Tang Xiao also gave a bitter smile, and he immediately understood that the result was foreseeable. Ah, I know. The technology system of Xingling is completely different from ours, and it is impossible to build such a thing. Manager, what is Xingling? Qi Jian asked. It's nothing. Filter out these unrealistic projects and see the spaceships we can build now. Tang Xiao waved his hand and said. The production line on the mothership can only produce two types of fighter jets. Aero reconnaissance planes and blade light fighters. There is also a small transport ship that can transport goods between planets and the mothership. To build a larger spacecraft, a space dock needs to be built. In addition, there are some production processes that are close to ours. The scientific research department should be able to complete the analysis soon. Do we need to list them? Never mind, we don't currently have the space and resources to invest in scientific research. Tang Xiao shook his head and returned to the state, turning to the civilian staff and saying, "Have the materials on the mothership been sorted out?" "The organization has been completed, as stated by the core computer. Our stock of supplies has been significantly below the red line. Just now, a message from the Ministry of Agriculture informed us that the vast majority of crops in the hydroponic tank have withered." A female clerk replied, "So the best way is to start landing as soon as possible. We should be able to find food on the planet. Qi Jian, please arrange for the production of 5 more aero reconnaissance planes and 20 blade fighter planes. Wake up 20 aircraft pilots, first ensuring the basic safety of the mothership. Then send transport planes to investigate Limingxing and determine the landing location. In addition, wake up 50 Marines to be on standby at any time." "Yes." Qi Jian quickly stood at attention and saluted, then immediately threw himself into his work. "There's one more thing." Tang Xiao thought for a moment and called out to Qi Jian, "Now this is the starting point of our journey in this unfamiliar universe. From now on, we will name this habitable planet, Dawn Planet. This will also be our new home." "Yes. Dawn Planet. This is our new home." Qi Jian was extremely excited and saluted heavily. All the other people in the bridge immediately stood up to salute, and then applauded one after another, conveying their excitement to each other. Looking at the cheering crowd, Tang Xiao let out a sigh, but his face showed no joy and he sat back in his seat like a zombie. He remembered his past. His family. Dad, mom, girlfriend. After experiencing the surprise just now, my mood gradually began to decline. Although he was in the cheering command center, he just felt that he didn't belong here, he just felt endless loneliness. If he had a choice, he would rather not have this mothership, those fancy databases, or the Spear of Aten himself. Let's go to hell. I just need to go home. Back to the home on Earth in the 21st century. I would rather these things were just game data in the computer hard drive than really going to war anyone with them. Perhaps there isn't so much grandeur at home, perhaps there isn't such a universal response, but it's safe and warm there. At least there's no need to worry about one day a destroyer flying over and lifting oneself up. Without managing the bustling bridge command center, Tang Xiao stood up silently, feeling somewhat lost and following the guidance of the main brain back to the luxurious room belonging to the manager. He threw himself onto the soft velvet bed, tears involuntarily sliding down his face. Afterwards, he gradually fell asleep, prayed and woke up to find that everything was just a dream. Chapter 4. Piercing the Universe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 4. Breaking through this universe. A burst of soothing music woke Tang Xiao up from his sleep. He opened his eyes, looked at the normal surroundings, and let out a bitter smile. "Manager, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's something very important that needs your decision." The voice of Qi Jian came from the nearby communicator. "No matter what, put it aside for me." Tang Xiao stood up from the bed, walked to the bathroom, and once again asked his brain to adjust the water temperature to a cold level before washing his face hard. He supported the wash basin with both hands, looked up at his pale face due to the cold, and gritted his teeth tightly. After a while, he suddenly got up, put on his clothes, slammed the door and walked out. "Master. Lead the way, go to the bridge." "Manager, I'm sorry to bother you." At the bridge command center, Qi Jian respectfully saluted Tang Xiao. "Speak up," Tang Xiao said indifferently. "The engineering team has established 2 mining stations near the gaseous planet, and during your rest, 2 ships of helium-3 have been returned and refined. Now we can take off more spacecraft, especially transport ships that need to travel back and forth between the Dawn Planet and the mothership." Qi Jian said. "Continue." Then. "The reconnaissance team has sent back the report and has preliminarily selected 17 landing points. We can choose one of them to launch the landing." Qi Jian's tone trembled as he opened an interface for Tang Xiao. "You can do as you please," Tang Xiao impatiently waved his hand. Qi Jian was somewhat surprised. Manager, this first colony is likely to be our capital after that. I dare not cross the line and make such a decision for you. Tang Xiao felt restless in his heart, but he had to look back at the screen. He had originally planned to choose any place, but as soon as he raised his finger and pointed, he saw Qi Jian's complex gaze. With anticipation, pride, and a hint of unease in his eyes, he clenched his fists and trembled slightly, trying to control his excitement. Not only him, but also the others on the bridge. Tang Xiao sighed and looked back at the screen. This time, he carefully compared these login points, and the knowledge crammed into his mind surged out like opening a gate to release water. Based on the knowledge he had learned, he chose an area with mountains, rivers, and large grasslands, pointing to this place and saying to Qi Jian, "It's right here. The latitude here is moderate, and there are also water sources around. There is also a small mountain with an altitude of over 1,000 meters as a defense high point. First, send 20 Marines to land and immediately start the construction of residential areas after launching the defense line." Yes. Manager. This is our first colony. It's our first step towards this universe. Qi Jian was a little excited and immediately arranged his work. After determining the login point, all aspects of work immediately began. Quickly, a transport ship carrying 20 Marines and 50 construction workers took off from the mothership and landed on the planet Dawn. The Marines spread out to the surroundings, driving away wild animals and laying down positioning beacons, while construction workers began to organize their own mechanized exoskeletons for construction. The beacon signal is normal. The manager can put the mothership into a synchronous orbit, Qi Jian said to Tang Xiao after confirming the signal from the beacon. Tang Xiao nodded and said to the operator on the bridge console, "Enter the synchronous orbit of the Dawn planet and keep the mothership always above the beacon." "Master, you can assist." Good. The engine of the Kushan mothership, which was over 41,300 meters tall, was once again activated. The incredibly powerful driving force propelled this massive object of over 370 billion tons to move forward, continuously descending into the outer gravitational circle of Dawn planet, and then maintaining the same speed as the planet's rotation. As it approached the orbit of the Dawn planet, several earthquakes of magnitude 3.5 and groundwater jets even occurred on the planet's surface due to the massive mass of the mothership. After entering the predetermined orbit, under the centrifugal force and inertia of the planet's rotation, the mothership only needs very little power to maintain navigation. Maintain synchronous operation with ground beacons, open a hatch in the center of the carrier, and then launch an orbital airborne module. Due to friction in the atmosphere, the surrounding air of the disposable orbital airborne module begins to burn, and when viewed from the ground, it appears as if a meteor is falling towards the ground. As it was about to land, the reverse engine of the airborne module started, spraying flames towards the ground to help it land smoothly. The construction workers who were already ready on the side immediately went over, opened the airborne module, and assembled the modular housing made of ultra-light materials inside. The outer shell of the airborne module is the exterior wall of the building. In less than 20 minutes, a 2-story small building was already built. The mothership is continuously airdropped into buildings at a rate of launch every 10 minutes, including housing, solar and wind power facilities, as well as water purification facilities, and so on. Tang Xiao also gradually chose some farmers and maintenance workers among the 600,000 residents who were frozen and hibernating to wake them up, and then let them land on the Dawn planet on a transport ship. He also selected a person named Gullaham from this group of people to be appointed as the village chief. Once we start, everything proceeds at an orderly pace. Tang Xiao stretched lazily and stood up, looking at the busy people, feeling a bit heavy. Looking at the vast universe outside the porthole on the other side, Tang Xiao couldn't help but walk over and see the stars that were countless light years away. He also thought of the inexplicable dream that may have caused him to travel through. My heart was once again filled with an unnamed fire, my teeth clenched tightly, and I couldn't help but clench my fists tightly. Then, I punched hard against the thick porthole. He growled like a wild animal, Fate NMB. Choose NMB. Choose you MLGB, you know. I want to go back to my mother's house. Play with me, right? Okay. Then I will break through the universe for you to see. Then you can let me go home. Fuck. Bang. He punched again, and the wound that was previously bandaged by the nurse burst open again, bleeding profusely. But at this moment, his gaze was filled with enthusiasm. Quickly but once again, it returned to a somewhat terrifying calmness. Boss, call a nurse to bandage me, Tang Xiao said lightly. Also, retrieve the information I need. I have a lot of things to do. Okay, manager. He now accepts his fate and vaguely feels that he really can't go back. If that's the case, if we continue to be so aimless, then perhaps one day when the Star Destroyer arrives, our family will still be penniless. Moreover, Tang Xiao realized that he couldn't disappoint Qi Jian and the others after seeing their fervent and hopeful eyes just now. If he really disappoints, then how firmly he can sit in this position is just an unknown number. Human society is a very complex collection formed by various interest ties. Although the main brain said it doesn't matter if he orders the mothership to self-destruct, he is very certain that if he really wants to do so, the first thing to worry about is probably the rebellion of these subordinates. Tang Xiao sat back on the main seat of the bridge, opened the entry of the colonial plan, and began to check. He needed to understand what difficulties he would face and how to solve them. He is a very serious person, and since he is determined to do it, he will also be very clear about what he should do and how he needs to do it. He didn't go over and over again, like a happy baby, to check the technology projects that were brought from games to reality, or drool over the unrealistic huge warships. He was just seriously looking at what he should be looking at. And now the most important thing to understand is how to establish colonies. In situations where the environment is unknown, rapid development and establishing one's own stable power is always the best choice. Especially now, people's hearts are separated by their bellies. As a traveler, he deeply understands that being here is actually the loneliest place. And who can guarantee that the current environment will not be another Truman's world? Pressing down the confusion and unease in his heart, Tang Xiao clicked on an entry in the Star Colony Construction Guide, opened the file, and flipped through it. Chapter 5. Star Wars. It's a real hammer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5. Star Wars. It's a real hammer. Tang Xiao has always been immersed in files, and these file materials quickly combined with the knowledge instilled in his mind, beginning to become his own thing. However, simply reading documents is still not enough, and the most important thing is to apply what you have learned. Master Brain, I'm going to inspect the Dawn planet and help me arrange it, Tang Xiao said as he closed the screen in front of him. Good manager. Additionally, when you are traveling outside, it is recommended to bring your personal bodyguard with you. Do I have a personal bodyguard? Let him come over. Tang Xiao was quite interested in this bodyguard. The bridge gate opened and a burly figure walked in. He was dressed in military uniform, with a standard inverted triangle shape and a familiar, steel-like and resolute face. As soon as he saw the bodyguard, Tang Xiao couldn't help but stand up, his mouth wide open. You can't be. Starting from today, I will be your personal bodyguard activity. You can call me T.850. The newcomer stood straight with legs like a compass, hands behind their backs, and said in a somewhat hoarse voice with a strong and powerful voice. Are you the Terminator? Tang Xiaomu was stunned. Although wearing military uniforms may not match the style of the person Tang Xiaomu knew, it was clearly Schwarzenegger. I am the T.850 combat robot, and the term Terminator is not within the scope of my database. Please explain, said the T.850 with a stiff and motionless body. Master Brain, I need an explanation. T.850 is a robot bodyguard equipped for managers. Its database contains various important protection tasks and combat data in different situations, which can perfectly complete tasks. The main brain directly answers. No, where did this robot come from? There is no source information saved. T.850 is stored in the mothership warehouse as a bodyguard for you and other important people. If needed, the mothership manufacturing plant can also produce more T.850. Tang Xiao looked at the face that had been seen countless times on the screen and nodded, saying, "Take your weapon and come with me." The transport ship landed on the leveled apron of Dawn Planet, and Tang Xiao and T.850 got off the ship. The workers next to them immediately began to move supplies out of the ship. These workers are all equipped with mechanized exoskeletons, as they are engineering equipment, so they basically only have limbs. However, it has installed various tools that can handle a lot of engineering work and can also carry a weight of 500 kilograms. The construction of the colony has begun to take shape, with more than 10 two-story residential buildings being built and supporting facilities also under construction. Tang Xiao even saw several residents deploying open-air hydroponic equipment by the lake and starting to plant crops. After seeing Tang Xiao, every resident would bow respectfully and greet him warmly. "Hello manager, I am Gullaham, majoring in management. I have just been appointed by you and am currently the village chief of this colony." A young man with brown hair walked over and shook hands with Tang Xiao with some excitement. "Because I was just appointed and was sent down, I couldn't see you in person. It was a pity that you came to inspect in person. It's really great." Tang Xiao patted his shoulder and encouraged him, "I will continue to pay attention to the construction of the colony. If you have any problems, you can report them to me at any time. This is my honor. You have given me the opportunity to board the mothership and entrusted me with important tasks, which I cannot repay." Gullaham was extremely excited, but he still adjusted his state. "By the way, the manager, we have discovered some local native creatures during our construction process, which should be intelligent life. How should we deal with them?" "Native people." Tang Xiao frowned. "You see, it's over there." Gullaham pointed to the edge of a forest ahead, and there were indeed some figures shaking vaguely there. Tang Xiao picked up a telescope and looked, only to see some people who looked like upright bears. They were about 1 meter tall, dressed in animal skins, holding stone spears, and very curious, pointing towards this side. Some transport ships were cheering and even kneeling to bow down as they passed by in the air. He suddenly felt a chill in his heart, and his smile gradually disappeared from his face. Tang Xiao, who had a great passion for the Star Wars series before, immediately recognized the names of these aliens. "Yuok people. They are really Yuok people," he murmured. "No wonder when I saw this planet before, I felt so familiar with it." The 9 planets did not orbit the stars, but rather the unique situation of orbiting gas giant planets. Originally, before he named this place Dawn Planet, the official name was Endo Planet. The reason he knows this is because Endor is one of the most famous planets in Star Wars. In the movie Star Wars 3. Return of the Jedi, Endor is the main battlefield between the Galactic Empire and the Rebellion. If that's the case, it looks like this is the Star Wars universe hammer. It's really Star Wars. Tang Xiao covered his forehead and sighed, looking really worried about the arrival of the Star Destroyer. "My own capital is really nothing in this world. Although the Kushan mothership is huge, it is only a civilian mothership used by immigrants. So the question now is, what is the current era? The absence of any war debris in the space around the planet Endor indicates that the war that led to the downfall of the Galactic Empire has not yet begun. But before this war, countless things had happened in this universe, including several wars, the downfall of the Galactic Republic, the establishment and division of the Galactic Empire. In short, this is a war-torn universe." He thought for a moment and said to Gullaham, "Notify the mothership that the next transport ship will deliver a few boxes of candy and some heavy machine guns. These natives are not very aggressive, so you can cautiously approach them and use candy to establish friendly relationships with them, but at the same time, strengthen your defense and build several watchtowers around them. Okay, manager. I'll take care of it now, Gullahem replied. Tang Xiao patted his shoulder again and said, Come on, Gullahem. The village chief is just the beginning, and I look forward to the day when you will always be the mayor, and governor. Yes. I will definitely work hard. Gulla's eyes lit up and he quickly stood at attention, bowing before continuing to work with 200% motivation. He picked up a large box and without the help of a mechanized exoskeleton, ran all the way to the nearby wind power station under construction, joining in the bustling construction work. Tang Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief, took a few steps forward, and looked at the lush and pristine world ahead. The gurgling water, the mirror-like surface of the lake, an unknown flock of birds skimming through the air, frightened herds of beasts galloping on the grassland, and predatory animals following closely behind waiting for opportunities. In the distance, you can still see towering trees towering into the clouds, as well as the endless mountains with shadows and shadows. A faint layer of dark clouds is gathering in the sky, indicating that there will be a light rain soon. If it weren't for those unfamiliar animals and plants, Tang Xiao would even feel like he's on the African savanna in spring. This vibrant world finally dispelled the haze in his heart, and he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Manager. Manager. Wake up quickly. Some anxious voices woke Tang Xiao up, and he realized that he had fallen asleep, standing and sleeping, at some point. Why? Tang Xiao didn't finish his sentence when he heard a series of loud noises. But I saw more than 10 boxes falling from mid-air around me, and the goods inside were scattered all over the ground. What happened? He quickly turned around and asked the T.850 who had been standing next to him. Just now, the objects around you suddenly floated uncontrollably, but your physical condition was normal, just like falling asleep. T.850 replied simply. Did I fall asleep while standing just now? And then the things around me floated up. Tang Xiao saw Gulla beside him and turned his head to ask. Yes, we dare not come over. Your bodyguard said that your vital signs were normal, so we didn't take any further risks to approach. Gullaham still had some fear. What's the situation? Drunk oxygen. Or. Tang Xiao was suddenly startled in his heart. He thought of a possibility, but further confirmation was needed. So he nodded and said, Forget it, I'll take the next transport ship back to the mothership and have a thorough medical examination for me. Mr. Manager, I'm sorry to bother you, but there is an urgent message that requires you to make an immediate decision. Just now, the mothership intercepted a hyperspace communication sent from the Dawn planet. Suddenly, the voice of the main brain came from the communicator. Chapter 6. Uninvited Guests. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 7. Eyes from the End of the Galaxy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 7. The gaze from the other end of the Milky Way galaxy, the Galactic Republic, a behemoth that has ruled over 10,000 galaxies in the Milky Way since over 25,000 years ago. Since its establishment, it has been jointly ruled by the Galactic Council and the Jedi Order. Republic Era 25018, 35 BBY, Note 1. Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic, is also the most developed and prosperous planet in the entire galaxy. The Jedi Temple, along with the Galactic Council, is the most magnificent building on Coruscant. Above the massive trapezoidal main building, which is over 1 kilometer high and over 500 meters wide, stand 5 tall towers. This architectural structure also symbolizes the supreme authority of the Guardians of the Galactic Republic. The Jedi Order. A middle-aged man in his 70s, with graying hair but a spirited and dignified demeanor, stood inside one of the high towers of the Jedi Temple and reported in a somewhat cold tone, Master Yoda, Councillor Palpatine has agreed to provide support in Parliament to push the judicial fleet to directly send troops to break free from the siege of the planet Nyela. Standing by the window of the hall with his back to this side, there was a withered old man who was green all over, less than 1 meter tall, with long ears, like Goblin, holding a cane and looking down at the entire Coruscant through the window. Master Yoda, the supreme leader of the Jedi Order, was also a respected elder. Upon hearing the report from the person, he did not turn back, but nodded and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Master Dooku. It is very important to have the help of Councillor Palpatine. His grammar when speaking is very strange, always putting the subject at the end, becoming a somewhat awkward inverted sentence." The old man named Master Dooku's response was also very cold. He just nodded slightly, turned around, and left. When he arrived at the door, he leaned over and said coldly, "If sending troops to rescue a planet besieged by pirates requires using personal connections to push the bill through Parliament, then tell me, where is the future of the Galactic Republic? And where should the Jedi Order come from?" Master Yoda just turned his back to him, and after a while, he slowly said, "Call me Master, you should." Dooku's cheeks twitched and he suddenly turned around, slamming the door away. After a long time, Master Yoda took a deep breath and turned to look in a direction. His gaze became profound, and he gently shook his head. Outside the door, Master Dooku bravely suppressed his anger and walked quickly along the corridor. A pair of apprentices wearing coarse cloth clothes walked towards them, including a middle-aged man with loose hair and a very spirited young man with a flat head. Seeing Dooku approaching, the middle-aged man quickly stepped aside and bowed respectfully, saying, "Master." Dooku felt frustrated in his heart, but after seeing the middle-aged man, he nodded in response and walked out of the Jedi Temple on his own. The middle-aged man kept a bowing posture and waited for Dooku to walk away before taking his young apprentice into the room where Dooku had just walked out. "Master Yoda, are you looking for me?" The middle-aged man walked into the room and bowed deeply to Master Yoda standing by the window. "The Force has fluctuated, I feel it," Master Yoda said. The middle-aged man was taken aback for a moment, and his gaze immediately sharpened. "Is it because the power of the dark side has reappeared?" "The power of the dark side, this is not. It's a chaos, I only see it." Master Yoda closed his eyes and felt the Force. "A chaotic scene. Where is it? Why did this happen?" The middle-aged man frowned. "I can't know." Yoda shook his head. "The disturbance of the Force is becoming increasingly strong, and I need to see it with my own eyes. Go to the model region, Master Qui-Gon King." The middle-aged man asked again, "What am I looking for?" "I don't know." "May the Force be with you." Master Yoda sighed lightly and stopped speaking. "May the Force be with you." Qui-Gon Jinn bowed deeply again and turned his head to the young man beside him. "Let's go, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Go to the Model Star District." "Yes, Master," the young man nodded and answered. Master Dooku returned to his residence, turned on the communicator, and a miniature projector projected the figure of a man in his 40s, dressed in a council robe and somewhat bald. Dooku nodded slightly and said, "Thank you very much for your help this time, Councillor Palpatine. Otherwise, millions of residents on the planet of Nelly would have died and suffered heavy casualties under the siege of the Biscalan pirates." Councillor Palpatine smiled and said, "This is what I should do, Master Dooku. I am also fortunate to have met you, a Jedi Master who dares to break tradition and is full of justice, in such a corrupt era. But that's not what I want." Dooku shook his head and said, "This shouldn't have been resolved like this. Our environment is like this, and it won't change due to the efforts of one or two of us. So, we should be grateful that this matter can be resolved. And other more serious issues, such as the recent dispute between the planet Marastal and the Enterprise Alliance, are beyond our capabilities," Palpatine said. "I completely agree with your point of view, Senator. This is not a problem that one or two of us can solve. We need more comrades," said Dooku. Palpatine nodded contentedly, "That's exactly what I want to express." But I believe that as long as we stick to our original intention, the opportunity for change will eventually come. I hope this day can come soon. Dooku's tone became chilly. Yes, it will eventually come, Palpatine said meaningfully. By the way, I've heard recently that there may be some issues on the side of the model star region. That is a barren area in the outer western region, with abnormal hyperspace traps everywhere. As far as I know, there is also the existence of a giant black hole. It is beyond the control of the Galactic Republic. Is the problem happening there important? Dooku felt a bit strange. It's not important, it's just a bit important. If you could help me and have someone investigate, that would be great, Palpatine said lightly. I will send a few Jedi apprentices. Well, forget it, I'll just send a few bounty hunters from my hometown planet of Reno. Dooku originally intended to pass through the Jedi Order, but he immediately dispelled the idea. Thank you very much, Master Dooku. Palpatine showed his meaningful smile again, bowed slightly, and then ended the communication. Why should Dooku handle the recent force disturbance in the model region? Suddenly, an extremely low voice came from behind Palpatine. It's like training a cyber war dog, only with a lot of commands will it gradually get used to your demands. Finally, it's orders, Palpatine replied with a smile. Are you really the only one with this idea? The voice asked again. Of course, my lord. Palpatine bowed slightly, hiding his expression very well. Very well, since that's the case, the dispute on the planet of Marastal still lacks some heat. You can go and light another fire, said the voice in the darkness. As you wish, my lord. Palpatine still maintained an impeccable smile on his face and walked backwards out of the office. Note 1. The chronological record of the world in Star Wars is based on the Battle of Yavin, which was the first Star Wars movie. The time of the battle in Star Wars New Hope, where the Death Star was destroyed, is used as the standard. BBY means before Battle of Yavin, that year was 0 BBY. After the Battle of Yavin, there were several years in ABY, meaning after Battle of Yavin, which this book will not cover. The establishment of the Galactic Republic was 25,053 BBY, destroyed at 19 BBY, and lasted for 25,034 years. 35 BBY corresponds to the year 25018 when the Galactic Republic was established, so according to the calendar of the Galactic Republic, this year is 25,018. This year is also the starting point of this book. New fans can understand it this way. BBY is the chronological system of BC, which is reversed. ABY is the chronological record of the year after the BCE, and it comes directly. That's okay, don't worry about anything else. Chapter 8. I Need Helpers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 8. I Need Help. We, Corellia, merchants. We, search for fur, rare metals. Please, let go, we, go home. A cylindrical robot is translating word by word. And next to the robot, the 3 armed militants who were previously captured were lying on the table groaning weakly, occasionally popping out a word. Tang Xiao sat across from the table in the interrogation room, crossing his legs to watch the performance of these 3 people. T.850 stood behind him expressionlessly, maintaining a standard military stance with feet shoulder level and hands behind his back. 1 Earth Standard Day has passed, and during this 24-hour period, under the demands of the main brain and the beating and coercion of the Marines, the 3 armed militants were forced to say countless words to explain. Perhaps they have come out of their mother's womb until now, including their crying during infancy, and together they don't have much to say on this day. Now, over 40% of the language analysis for this type of language called Galactic Standard Language is available for some level of dialogue. But the parsing of letters, text, and grammar will take some time. The 3 armed militants were completely unaware that their bleak future was ahead, and they were still trying their best to pretend to be miserable, hoping that Tang Xiao, who looked friendly and young, could let them go. Tang Xiao turned a blind eye to their performance and said to the translation robot, where is the capital of the Galactic Empire? The three of them were confused when they heard the translation, and one of them corrected, the Galactic Republic is not an empire. Coruscant is the capital. So who is the leader of the Jedi Order? Tang Xiao asked again. The three continued to look bewildered, shaking their heads to indicate that they didn't know. Yes, the Jedi warriors of the Republican era, although in a superior position, acted low-key and silently guarded the Galactic Republic. The existence of Jedi warriors is mostly just a legend in the minds of ordinary people in the Milky Way. Tang Xiao thought for a moment and asked a different question, who is the Speaker of the Galaxy Council? They still thought for a moment, and then one of them answered, Finus Valorum. Tang Xiao's face changed as he asked the last question, has there been a war on Naboo planet? Three people shook their heads. Tang Xiao stood up without saying a word and walked straight from the interrogation room towards the bridge. The manager has left, let's continue. Please describe the appearance of this cat in the most accurate sentence below. The voice of the main brain rang out, and several round-waisted and burly Marines walked in to watch the armed militant snort coldly. A mournful cry quickly came from the interrogation room. Returning to the bridge, Tang Xiao sat on the main seat, leaning against the backrest and staring at the ceiling of the command center, lost in thought. Now he has reduced his current era of Star Wars to within 30 years, but this result is never happy. Because in these 30 years, the Milky Way will face an unprecedented and terrifying war and turmoil, with almost every corner of the galaxy being engulfed in the flames of war. In this war, the Galactic Republic, with a history of over 25,000 years, suffered its ultimate downfall. Tang Xiao began to organize the storyline of Star Wars in his memory. Now, the Speaker of the Republic Parliament is Finus Valorum, and the war on Naboo has not yet broken out, which is an important milestone. Because the Battle of Naboo ultimately led to the resignation of former Speaker Finus Valorum, and Shiv Palpatine became the new Speaker of the Republic. Then, under his conspiracy planning, 10 years after the Battle of Naboo, the Galactic Republic was completely divided and at war. The exploited outer ring planet of the Milky Way announced the establishment of an independent galactic federation to confront the Galactic Republic. The two sides engaged in a comprehensive war that lasted for 3 years, known as the Clone Wars, due to the extensive use of clone soldiers by the Galactic Republic. As the world's largest conspirator in the history of Star Wars, Shiv Palpatine planned all of this, using this war to ultimately overthrow the Galactic Republic, eliminate the Jedi Order, and sweep away the Resistance forces in the Outer Ring. Then, he ascended to the throne and proclaimed himself emperor on the ruins of the Galactic Republic, renaming it the Galactic Empire. Thinking of this, Tang Xiao let out a long sigh and felt his head swell. He moaned, why is this the darkest era? I can't be Palpatine's opponent. Whether it's politics or conspiracy, personal strength or power, it's far inferior. How can you make me live? Obey him. Join the Galactic Empire and become His Majesty's pawn. Tang Xiao began to seriously consider this option, but then he let out a long sigh, impossible. At that time, the mothership will definitely be confiscated by him, and the countless data in the database will also fall into his hands. Why? Tang Xiao stomped his foot and stood up suddenly, shouting at the ceiling, wow, ah. It's so annoying. Daphne Clement and Qi Jian quickly walked over to inquire. Tang Xiao shook his head and asked them to go back to work. He looked at the backs of the two and muttered to himself, I need help. A politician who can fight against Palpatine. Politician, yes. Politician. He understood that in the Star Wars world, at least for the time being, the Galactic Council had the final say. What does this mean? You don't need to defeat 1,000 strong soldiers with just one hand. No matter how strong your personal strength is, you can't match Death Star or Star Destroyer. But if a politician flips his lips, he can make countless destroyers serve him. Tang Xiao looked up at the backs of Clement and Qi Jian and shook his head slightly. They can't do it. Clemence Major is not at all in this, don't expect her to get involved in politics. As a staff member, Qi Jian was only a member of the ordinary class and his abilities are still relatively limited. He also found that most people in the ordinary class are relatively young, while those in the elite class are slightly older, and those in the master class will have many elderly people aged 5 or 60. This indicates that this level classification is only based on the current achievements of this person. As long as there is enough time and experience, ordinary people can also become master-level characters. But talent cultivation is one aspect. To compete with Palpatine, no, he doesn't even have the qualifications to stand on stage now. At least we need to step onto the big stage of the Milky Way first, and then we can discuss the question of who to compete against. In this regard, he indeed needs a politician who is at least a master level. Tang Xiao took a deep breath and began flipping through the list of people who could be awakened. Suddenly, he noticed that the list seemed to have changed. Previously, there were 3 levels. Ordinary, Elite, and Master, followed by 3 question marks. And now one of the question marks has been displayed, it's legendary. Legendary characters. Master Brain. When did you unlock a legendary character? Tang Xiao asked in surprise. After you awaken, Manager. If you don't have strong abilities, legendary or even higher level characters won't be loyal to you. Forcing them to awaken may actually lead to chaos. Characters at this level have such abilities, and even worse. Note 1. This is the main content of the prequel trilogy movie of Star Wars, as well as the full-length animated series, Clone Wars. Chapter 9. I Want a Spaceship. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 9. I Want a Spaceship. Tang Xiao quickly flipped through the list of legendary characters, only to find that the vast majority of them were in an unreachable state, but there were still a few people who could see a name. What are the situations of these people who can see their names? Can they be awakened? Tang Xiao asked. Cannot be awakened directly. According to the agreement they made before entering the mothership's hibernation chamber, they will swear allegiance to you, but the binding force of this oath is difficult to determine for people of this level. Therefore, before you awaken them, you can negotiate with them in a semi-asleep state. If they are interested in the conditions you offer, they will be willing to accept the awakening and serve you. That is to say, those who can see their names are those who may meet their conditions. Tang Xiao looked at the thunderous names one by one, but felt a little scared in his heart. These people clearly come from movies, TV shows, and games, with countless stories and legends written behind each name. So legendary characters are like this. So what kind of terrifying people are in the class represented by the last 2 question marks? Yes. Also, if negotiations fail, they would rather sleep forever than be willing to serve you. But if we have fully met their conditions, we can directly awaken legendary characters without negotiation. Of course, their conditions are always very harsh, added the main brain. Tang Xiao nodded and suddenly saw a name, his eyes lit up. If you want to confront Palpatine, maybe this person can. Even if any Marine is present, he can be beaten to death, but this person truly has the ability to make a name for himself in the political arena of the Galactic Republic. But this person is too terrifying, lacking loyalty, faith, and justice. For him, there is only power, only interests, and only ambition. Everything is a transaction. But only such people can compete with Palpatine. Even so, Tang Xiao dare not guarantee it. It's him. At the right time, talk to him and see if he is willing to come out and help himself. As for the consequences of doing so, who cares? Now he has only one purpose. War. There may be 10 to 30 years left until the outbreak of the Clone Wars, during which time he must be prepared for the war. Only then can we survive in this war that is sweeping across the entire galaxy. Besides, he can abandon everything. Closing the page of legendary characters, Tang Xiao felt a cold sweat dripping down his back. This feeling is completely different from the feeling of control seen in movies and games. For those who can be said to be the top figures in various worlds, Tang Xiao has too little capital to confront them. No wonder the main brain has to wait until it wakes up before opening up the wake-up permissions for these people. Awakening. Tang Xiao leaned against the backrest of his seat, raised his hand to a cup of tea on the table. After concentrating, the cup of tea began to be lifted by an invisible force and flew towards him. Tang Xiao's heart was filled with joy, but the cup of tea fell to the ground with a clang, shattering into pieces. Sure enough, let's wake up a few cleaners. Tang Xiao looked at the scattered tea leaves on the ground and then at everyone busy on the bridge, shaking his head. In short, this mysterious force should be the Force, a unique force in the Star Wars universe. It is a supernatural and omnipresent force that can be said to encompass everything and be omnipotent. In this world, those who use the power of the Force's bright side are Jedi warriors, and the one who uses the dark side of the Force is the Lord Sith. In the movie, these two groups of people are the ones who buzz and chop with their lightsabers. The unprecedented war between the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire, which was the confrontation between the light and dark sides of the Force. Finally, the Jedi Order representing the light achieved victory, and the Sith Lord was completely destroyed, leaving only the unknown shadow to operate in. So, I am also a person with the Force. Tang Xiao felt this force, and the fragments of tea cups on the ground were lifted one by him, flying steadily towards the nearby trash can. Then it fell to the ground around the trash can with a clatter. Manager. Qi Jian came to Tang Xiao, who was playing happily, and looked at the fragments of tea cups flying everywhere, congratulating him sincerely. Congratulations, Manager, you have mastered this mysterious and powerful power. Do you have anything to do with me? Tang Xiao asked. Yes. Just now our staff department completed a plan aimed at the current military forces here. Please take a look. Qi Jian sent a data packet to the screen in front of Tang Xiao. Tang Xiao looked at the plan and listed data displayed on the screen and said, "Can you tell me the conclusion first?" Qi Jian nodded and said, "The most urgent thing we need now is to improve the defense capability of the mothership. Blade fighters alone are far from enough. In other words, that thing is a sealed iron box with machine guns and a pair of engines. So we need a stronger interstellar fighter, and now the production line inside the mothership can directly produce fighter planes, which can temporarily save time and resources for building a space dock." Tang Xiao gestured for him to continue. "We hope to start the research and development of the Blade 2 fighter jet as soon as possible, so that the research department can analyze the technology of this fighter jet as soon as possible, and transform the production line to start production. In addition, we also need to start research on infrared laser weapons and upgrade the weapon system of the Blade 2 fighter jet," Qi Jian said, taking out data from a fighter jet. Tang Xiao looked at the fighter jet and recognized that it was actually an upgraded version of the Blade fighter jet from Home 2. The design is softer and the handling performance is better, but the firepower remains as weak as ever, with only one 6-barrel electromagnetic machine gun. No wonder Qi Jian also requested research on infrared laser weapons. This is the technology of primary laser weapons in the stars, and for now, it is indeed very practical. However, after reading the data, Tang Xiao shook his head greatly. He knows very well what kind of opponent he is about to face, and just relying on the little combat power improvement of the Blade 2 fighter jet is just a drop in the bucket. Based on his understanding of the Star Wars world, the main aircraft model of the Galactic Republic should be the Arc.170 heavy fighter jet. In front of this type of fighter jet, whether it is the Blade fighter jet or the Blade 2, they are just a group of flies that can be killed at any time. He thought for a moment and said, "I will immediately establish a physics research department to start researching infrared laser weapons." "So, what about the Blade 2 fighter jet?" Qi Jian asked. "The improvement of our combat capabilities by this type of fighter is limited. We can now increase the production of blade fighters, increase the number of fighters to 100, and wait for the installation of infrared laser weapons. This is our current mission goal, Tang Xiao said. However, the reliability and combat capability of the blade fighter jet are not ideal. If there is really a conflict, many pilots will sacrifice themselves for nothing. Qi Jian still wanted to argue with reason. Will driving the blade too not be a wasted sacrifice? We need a more powerful fighter jet. It's best to have combat capabilities in the atmosphere. The enemy we're about to face is far more powerful than we imagine. Tang Xiao waved his hand and interrupted him. You must understand that we don't have extra time and resources to research and manufacture too many transition products. In fact, he has already selected the fighter jet model he needs to study next. CF/A.17. Ghost Fighter. From StarCraft. Note 1. By the way, this book will not feature characters or technologies that are too outrageous or too dramatic, such as Gundam. Chapter 10. Research Projects. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 10. Research projects the CF/A.17 Phantom fighter jet is the main fighter jet of the Terran Empire in StarCraft. Tang Xiao also discovered that the CF/A.17 Ghost Fighter, which can now be researched and manufactured, is only an early model and does not have pulse lasers installed for ground attacks. But no matter what, the Ghost Fighter is an excellent fighter that can fight in both the atmosphere and the universe, and has been proven in the storyline of StarCraft as well as in the war between the Starling and the Xenograms. And the later models of this fighter jet will also be equipped with stealth systems, becoming truly terrifying killers. Stealth fighters. Although the technology system of the mothership now belongs to Home, in order to build Ghost fighter jets, it is necessary to overcome the production technology and technology gap between Home and StarCraft, but Tang Xiao believes that this difficulty must be overcome. The resources needed to digest and analyze the technology of the Terran Empire in StarCraft, which is also a technology product of the human system, should still be under control. Seeing that the manager had already made up his mind, Qi Jian did not continue to entangle. As a subordinate, he needs to express his opinions and concerns, and then let Tang Xiao make a decision. Now all he has left is obedience. Tang Xiao called Daphne Clement and asked, "Is there still a modular building for the Engineering Research Institute in the warehouse of the mothership? How large is it?" Clement replied, "Considering the risks involved in engineering research and the fact that many experiments require a lot of space, the mothership carries a modular research space station that can accommodate approximately 20 experts for experimentation and research. Give instructions to the engineering department to immediately start building this engineering research space station, preferably starting operation today." Tang Xiao ordered. Yes. Tang Xiao opened the character wake.up database of the mothership and began searching for suitable candidates inside. Among the elite class, he found 3 engineering experts, awakened them, and called them to the bridge. 3 experts, 2 women and 1 man, all around the ages of 30 to 40, bowed respectfully when they saw Tang Xiao. The leading female expert spoke up and said, "Hello manager. My name is Guan Yan, an expert in energy science. This is Dr. Feng Yongwang, an expert in mechanics, and this is Dr. Chu Shuwin, an expert in materials science." Tang Xiao was also polite and directly assigned them a task. "I need to start researching 2 projects at the same time, one is infrared laser weapons, and the other is this type of research. The CF/A.17 Ghost Fighter. What conditions are needed, and I will try my best to meet them." Guan Yan frowned for a moment and said, "The research on infrared laser weapons requires a physics laboratory. It's best to equip me with at least 20 physics professionals. But this fighter jet." She handed the data to the male expert and said, "What do you think?" Dr. Feng Yongwang, wearing glasses, looked at the ghost fighter and shook his head slightly. "There are many technological systems inside that are different from ours. Although it is not impossible to overcome this problem, it may take longer. Let Dr. Chu and I work together, and we will first carry out some preliminary preparation work. The initial personnel configuration does not need to be too much, and 5 mechanical professionals are enough. Afterwards, I will gradually propose more personnel and material needs. What about time? Tang Xiao asked. The complete data is here, so the research and application of infrared laser weapons should be completed within a month, Dr. Guan Yen replied. It's hard to say about the Ghost fighter jet. Although the data is very complete, it will take a year to analyze it to the extent that we can produce it with energy. It would be great if there were experts from the master level to lead my team, Feng Yongwang said. I will fully cooperate with personnel and materials. Let's start working first. Thank you all, Tang Xiao nodded and said. If that's the case, manager. You are the one at the helm, and we just need to do our job well. It should be our gratitude to you, Chu Shuwen said to Tang Xiao with a smooth smile. I will make a list of requirements, Guan Yen said. No matter where it is, scientific research is always a laborious and time-consuming activity. Watching the long list of supplies constantly appearing on the screen, Tang Xiao maintained a smile on the surface, but his heart was dripping with blood. Now the colony has finally started to improve, with some material reserves, and now it's all thrown away to the research team with a snap. The outer ring of the Milky Way, the western boundary, the model region, and hyperspace. We're about to jump out of hyperspace. It's time to wake up, dear, said a human woman in control of a circular Corellia EP1-10 light spacecraft to the nearby pilot. A man of about 30 years old was dozing in the driver's seat. He shook his head and said, I really begin to miss Korea's foam wine. After finishing this job, I have to go home and have a good sleep. Well, at least 3 days. The Corellian galaxy is not a place where people like us at the bottom can live, Quinto. I prefer it now, free and unrestrained. The woman walked over and kissed her lover's forehead. That damn machine is malfunctioning again. There was a roar from the rear cabin, followed by a clang. Someone should have kicked the machine, and then a Rodian walked out. The appearance of Rodians resembles an upright seahorse, with bulging eyes without eyelids and mouthparts protruding like straws. This is a hunting nation, and even if they join the Galactic Republic and enter the interstellar era, they are more engaged in the work of bounty hunters. What's going on? Spard, Quinto turned around and asked. It's not a big problem, it's just going to die. Felix, you should be able to see the 7th indicator light on your left flashing abnormally, right, said the Rodian angrily. The woman turned around and immediately exclaimed, oh my goodness. The hyperspace splitter is not responding. How could it be like this? She quickly operated on the control console in a flurry, but to no avail. Okay, now we can only pray that we won't be torn apart when we leave the hyperspace. Spard spread his hands and sat on the ground, accepting his fate. The hyperspace splitter protects us from being torn apart by physical phenomena when we leave hyperspace. If this thing malfunctions, we cannot start hyperspace jumping. So, if it weren't for our 8 lifetimes of great luck and problems during the jumping process, it would be. Kunto said before the spaceship could leave hyperspace. If you look outside, you will see the spaceship appearing almost instantly from scratch in space. After a violent vibration, they finally stabilized the spaceship. Kunto looked at the huge creature that appeared in front of him and murmured, that's artificial. The spirit of Koraya. What is this? Ferrari was stunned as he watched the terrifying scene before him. On the radar, a crescent-shaped giant spacecraft can be seen slowly moving in the synchronous orbit of the planet. This spaceship is so huge that when they look through the porthole of their YT.1000 light spaceship, they can only see an endless metal wall.